Caitlin Clark's entire world flipped in a single heartbeat, and it happened the moment Michael Jordan himself walked in alongside rising WNBA star Lexie Hull in a scene so charged with emotion you could feel the air shift as cameras rolled, and fans froze. And then came the reveal, a mind-blowing, history-making $52 million Nike deal crafted exclusively for Clark. Not just a shoe contract, but an empire in the making. Designed to cement her as the face of a global movement, the crowd fell into stunned silence. Her eyes widened in disbelief, and what followed was a reaction so raw and unforgettable, it instantly became sports history. But here's the real question. Why did Jordan and Hull choose this exact moment to drop the biggest bombshell of her career? And how will this deal change not only Caitlin Clark's future, but the entire landscape of women's sports forever? Long before the confetti rained down at the 2024 WNBA draft, Caitlin Clark had already carved her name into sports history with every breathtaking performance. She wasn't just a rising star, she was the player, the heartbeat of women's college basketball, turning ordinary nights into sold-out primetime spectacles, raining in step-back threes from way beyond the arc, threading impossible passes through microscopic lanes, and carrying herself with a confidence that forced even the most seasoned analysts to stop mid-sentence. By early 2024, her name wasn't just echoing across the United States, it was reverberating across the globe, crowds lining up hours before tip-off just to watch her warm up, television ratings spiking the moment she appeared on screen. And in one stunning moment inside Carver Hawkeye Arena, she shattered the NCAA's all-time scoring record, male or female, freezing the sports world in awe as ESPN rolled out breaking coverage. International networks jumped on the story, and her face was suddenly everywhere, from cereal boxes in Iowa to massive digital billboards in Tokyo. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a college basketball player anymore. She was a global icon and the inevitable #1 pick for the Indiana Fever. And when her name was called in Brooklyn that night, it wasn't just a draft pick, it was a coronation, the start of a new era. By the time Caitlin Clark set foot in Brooklyn for the WNBA draft, she wasn't just another top prospect, she was the centerpiece of a full-blown marketing war, every major sportswear giant circling like hawks, ready to drop jaw-dropping offers to secure the most influential woman in basketball. Whispers of big money bids had already started leaking in early March. Under Armour stepping up first with a tempting $16 million over 4 years and the rare promise of a signature shoe, Adidas firing back with a $6 million offer and a custom prototype designed specifically for her game. Even Puma testing the waters before bowing out when the stakes skyrocketed. But then came Nike, and when they moved, it was like a lightning strike. 3 days after Caitlin was drafted, #1 overall, they landed the deal that obliterated every other offer, an 8-year contract worth a base of $28 million with bonuses and brand activations, pushing it to an insane $52 million. And they didn't just slide papers across the table, they made it an event, bringing in Michael Jordan, the king of basketball branding, and Lexie Hull, one of the league's fiercest young voices for equity, to hand Clark not only her future, but the keys to her own sports empire. By the time Caitlin Clark set foot in Brooklyn for the WNBA draft, she wasn't just another top prospect, she was the centerpiece of a full-blown marketing war, every major sportswear giant circling like hawks, ready to drop jaw-dropping offers to secure the most influential woman in basketball. Whispers of big money bids had already started leaking in early March. Under Armour stepping up first with a tempting $16 million over 4 years and the rare promise of a signature shoe, Adidas firing back with a $6 million offer and a custom prototype designed specifically for her game. Even Puma testing the waters before bowing out when the stakes skyrocketed. But then came Nike, and when they moved, it was like a lightning strike. 3 days after Caitlin was drafted, #1 overall, they landed the deal that obliterated every other offer, an 8-year contract worth a base of $28 million with bonuses and brand activations, pushing it to an insane $52 million. And they didn't just slide papers across the table, They made it an event, bringing in Michael Jordan, the king of basketball branding, and Lexie Hull, one of the league's fiercest young voices for equity, to hand Clark not only her future, but the keys to her own sports empire. When Caitlin Clark held that signature shoe in her hands, it wasn't just another product launch. It was the kind of sports moment that rewrites the rulebook. Not since 1984, when a young Michael Jordan signed his groundbreaking deal with Nike, had the industry seen a partnership so symbolic, but this time, it was a woman standing at the center of it all, and that changed everything. Nike wasn't simply slapping her name on a sneaker. They were building an entire line around her identity, her style, and her story, making her only the third WNBA player in history to ever receive a signature shoe and the very first to get it before even playing a single professional game. It was a bold bet on more than just talent. It was a bet on influence, on the movement she had already ignited, from packed college arenas to record-shattering television ratings. And while the deal didn't yet include royalties like Jordan's original contract, which transformed him into a billionaire business mogul, the stage was set for Caitlin to turn this platform into something just as powerful, maybe even bigger. And that's when the conversation shifted from what she got to what this means for the future of women's sports. The reactions came fast and loud. Sonny Vaccaro, the former Nike executive who helped sign Michael Jordan in the 82nd, publicly praised Caitlin as one of the most important athletes of this generation, but he didn't hold back his frustration, saying she deserved the full Jordan treatment with royalties or equity so she could own a piece of the legacy she's building. And his words struck a nerve across the sports world, because while Caitlin's $52 million payday smashed records, her rookie WNBA salary sat at just $76,000, less than the cost of courtside seats. At some NBA games, the contrast was staggering, and it reignited a national conversation about the value of women's sports. Social media lit up with comparisons. Journalists dropped think pieces overnight, and former athletes joined the chorus, saying this deal should be the wake-up call that forces brands, leagues, and networks to finally pay women athletes what they're worth. But amid all the noise, one thing was undeniable. Nike didn't just believe in Caitlin Clark, they built around her, and with Michael Jordan's legacy and Lexie Hull's advocacy standing beside her, this moment wasn't just big for her career, it was seismic for the entire game. By April 2024, it was clear this wasn't just a sponsorship deal, it was a power shift. Nike's investment in Caitlin Clark instantly became the new benchmark for every endorsement deal in women's sports, setting a standard that brands could no longer ignore. And it wasn't just about the money, it was the vision. The 8-year plan, the Olympic campaigns, the lifestyle branding, the social impact projects, every layer of this deal screamed long-term legacy. Caitlin wasn't just wearing the swoosh, she was becoming part of its DNA. And with Michael Jordan, whose 1,984 deal turned into a multi-billion-dollar empire, literally standing beside her, the symbolism couldn't have been louder. Jordan brought the model, Lexie Hull brought the movement, and Caitlin brought the moment. And experts quickly began predicting that her deal would open the floodgates, forcing companies that once hesitated to invest in women athletes to rethink everything, because if Caitlin Clark could pull global numbers, move more merchandise than some NBA stars, and pull television ratings into record territory, then the old excuse of "there's no market" had just been shattered for good. Still, one detail in the contract kept sparking debate: the absence of royalties. Caitlin would earn a historic paycheck, but she wouldn't get a cut of every shoe sold, at least not yet. And for many insiders, that became the next battleground. Because if this deal is the new baseline, then the next wave of contracts could push even further toward equity, revenue sharing, and true ownership. But even without that clause, Caitlin's impact was undeniable. She was now living proof that a woman's name could sell shoes, break merchandise records, and command global marketing campaigns. And with Michael Jordan's legendary business blueprint hovering over the moment, and Lexie Hull's fierce advocacy for women's sports adding fire to the movement, it felt like this was the point where the business of women's basketball stopped playing catch-up and started dictating the pace. And every step Caitlin took from here on out would echo with decades of progress and the promise of an entirely new future for the game. When Nike confirmed Caitlin Clark's signature sneaker was already in active development, the announcement hit like a cultural earthquake. Not just because she was joining an elite list of athletes with their own shoe, but because for young girls across the country, this was finally a shoe built for them by someone who plays their game at the highest level. For decades, boys had Air Jordans, Kobe's, LeBron's sneakers tied to their heroes and their dreams, but girls had to settle for wearing the men's game on their feet. Now Caitlin was flipping that script, creating a product that spoke directly to the next generation of female hoopers. And Michael Jordan understood exactly what that meant, because he'd done it himself in 1984, except this time he wasn't passing the blueprint to another man, he was passing it to a woman ready to carry it further. Lexie Hull's presence made it clear this wasn't just about one star, it was about building a movement, a future where women's basketball doesn't just compete for attention, it commands it. And Caitlin Clark was about to step into that future with the whole world watching. So when Caitlin Clark stood center stage with Michael Jordan on one side and Lexie Hull on the other, holding a $52 million Nike deal and the prototype of her very own signature sneaker, it was more than a business announcement. It was a declaration that the game had officially changed. This was the moment women's basketball stopped asking for a seat at the table and started building its own. Caitlin's rise from Iowa City's packed arenas to becoming the centerpiece of a global brand wasn't luck, it was earned through record-breaking performances, fearless confidence, and an undeniable connection with fans around the world. Jordan brought the legacy, Hull brought the movement, and Caitlin brought the moment that will be remembered for decades. And as she steps into this new chapter, every dribble, every shot, every headline will carry the weight of progress for the players who came before and the girls who will come after. Because this isn't just about one deal or one shoe, it's about rewriting the rules of the game forever. And Caitlin Clark is leading the charge.